Okay, so what do you do when you want to boil down maple syrup and you don't want to shell out $3,500 for an evaporator? If you've only got a small amount of sap that you want to boil down, we're going to build a frame here, build a grid for cooking on. It's just going to be a rectangular setup. So what I've got here, this is going to be the length, this is going to be the distance across the grid. We're 36 inches by 18. So I've got these 4 pieces cut out. Now the next step is going to be, I'm going to run a bead of weld in here. Now as you can see, these, they're not going to set because we have a rounded corner inside the angle and we have a squared corner on the outside on the cut. So the next thing I'm going to do here is take the grinder and just grind this corner here off round, so that'll fit in tight. I'm going to do that on all four points on the side of this, and then we're going to stick some stuff together here with the welder. Okay. Okay, so we took that round corner off here on this piece of angle. Now that fits perfectly in that corner. That'll be easy to weld now. We don't have any flop and play in that, so we're going to go ahead and do that for all 4 corners. Okay, so now this steel that I'm using here has got a bit of rust on it. It's been setting up in the shop for a while. So I've taken the grinder, cleaned these ends all off on both sides so that they're going to have a decent chance to get a bead of weld on there. I've got my first corner set up here. Of course, I got a welding magnet set in here to give me my 90 degrees. I've taken a little bit of a lip right here. It's actually just the thickness of the stock of this angle iron. And what that'll do, it'll give me a chance to get a bead of weld in here and up this side, just strengthen this corner up, as well as welding on the inside here. So, next step, a welder set up here. I like my stick welder, but I got this new MIG welder. We're going to give her a go. It's a 180 Lincoln. Does a decent job. So I'm going to give that a buzz here next, and I'm going to set the corners. Okay, so we've got the 4 corners stuck now. So now with the tack joint on the outside here, I've got lots of room on the inside here to weld, across here, and up on this corner here on each side. So I'm going to go ahead with those welds next. Okay, so we've got the 4 corners welded fairly solid. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to run a bead across here. That'll just strengthen these up, and then we're going to start and cut the crossbars to fit in here. Okay, so there's the basic frame finished. I by no means consider myself an expert welder, but I can put stuff together that never comes apart. I'm really starting to like that Lincoln 180 MIG welder. Of course, I'm not using MIG gas on it outside. We're welding out doors here right now. It's just using the wire feed, but does a nice clean job. And of course, you get the table inside it there, the chart that shows for the thickness of your steel, what setting to set it on, and very simple, very easy to work with. So the next thing we're going to do, we're going to take some square stock here. This is a 5/8 square bar. And we're going to cut this to fit inside, across underneath here. We'll put probably 5 pieces of this across in here. That'll be the next step. Okay, so I've got the crossbars cut and set in place. Got a couple of them tacked here on the ends. Unfortunately, it's getting a little bit dark to see through the helmet here when I'm welding, so this is today's progress. We'll start back again tomorrow morning. Finish this up, get some legs onto it, get the rest of those bars tacked down, and that's going to make a good grill there for boiling down some sap under. Okay, so the next step here is going to be to put the legs on. Now I've got these spacers here. As you can see, like I said at the start, we step this in here just enough to get a bead of weld up this corner here to strengthen it. So if we stand the leg on here, of course it's not going to come flush. So we've got these spacers. We're going to weld these in place next on all 4 corners, and that will let the angle for the leg on the corner to set flush around this edge. Okay, so here we have it. The legs are welded on. We welded a shoe on the bottom here so that it won't sink into the ground. Got some diagonal bracing on here to support the legs. We're ready to set her on and light a fire underneath it. So here's the finished product in place. A little bit of a fire starting underneath it. Just took some old cinder blocks, stacked around the sides. Some clay bricks around the back for a heat reflector. We've got a pail of syrup here that we started down yesterday, and it's about halfway to where it's going to be, nice and dark. Lots of sugar content to it. So we're going to put that in the pots and bring her up to a boil. That's just how easy it is to make something simple and slick to boil down maple syrup if you don't want to spend big bucks for an evaporator. This will work. Well, here we are coming up to a starting of a boil here. When we boil down, we use a 3-pot system. We put the cold sap in one pot to warm up, and then as it reduces down a little bit, it'll go to a second pot. We fill the first pot up with some cold sap again, and then when we're getting close to the point where it's about half evaporated, then we'll add it into a third one. Now I think you can tell from the video, that sap right there is quite dark. That's about halfway to being ready to take off for finishing down. This one here is just steaming away there. But yeah, some good sugar content in that for sure. This grill is letting us have, those legs are 16 inches long, so we can put a good deep fire underneath there. Of course, we get a couple of 4 patio stones under that for a base, and walk the wood to her and let her boil away. Now I should mention that when we're boiling down, we strain the sap when it's gathered from the tree, and once the sap comes out of the first pot where it's been warming, we strain again before it goes into the next pot. When it comes out of that pot, it'll be strained again, and then we do a final straining before we take it in for finishing down. That removes any spots of ash that might get into it, but it also removes the sugar sand. Now, anybody that's maybe not familiar with tapping trees, there's a mineral sand that's natural in the sap as it boils down, and as the season progresses, the sugar sand will get worse in the sap. You'll notice when you're boiling down, if you strain off, you'll notice a kind of a dark little real fine concentrate that shows up in your filters. That's all that is. It's just from the mineral being taken up out of the tree. But straining that out, filtering it away, makes for purer syrup. Your syrup will be a lot lighter grade. but it doesn't really affect the flavor. But one of the signs of when your season is starting to end, you'll start to see a lot more of that sugar sand in the sap. Just something that you want to clean out, because it'll look like a little grit in the bottom of your bottles if you don't.